Hi, my name is John Dingeman, and I am the Chief Appraiser for Class Valuation. In March of 2022, the GSEs, both Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, introduced desktop appraisals into their respective guides. Class Valuation's Property Fingerprint solution serves both 3D scanning and property data collection and supports the desktop and hybrid appraisal process. The Digital Appraisal Training Series is intended to assist appraisers in the use of Property Fingerprint when completing desktop or hybrid appraisals. The appraiser's task of completing the virtual inspection of the property is the most important, and it requires your due diligence as an appraiser. Before we get started, let's take a moment to review some basic information related to USPAP, our standards, and real property inspections. The current version of USPAP defines personal inspection as a physical observation performed to assist in identifying relevant property characteristics in valuation services. In early 2023, the Appraisal Standards Board, which promulgates our standards, introduced its fifth exposure draft of proposed changes. One such change is related specifically to inspection and disclosing the extent of that inspection within the scope of work. It is important to remember that USPAP does not require a personal inspection of the property. It is the appraiser who decides whether or not to perform an inspection of the property that is the subject of an assignment. The request to perform a personal inspection is generally requested by our clients, and it is outlined in the scope of work for that assignment. One reason for the considered change in USPAP is that industry stakeholders have expressed concerns based on changes related to inspection practices and sophisticated technologies. If, for example, an appraiser was to receive a property data collection report about the subject property from a source like Property Fingerprint, this property data collection report would not be categorized as part of the scope of work for the appraiser's assignment. In the appraisal report, the appraiser would treat the property data collection report in a manner similar to any other information analyzed to support the opinions and conclusions to allow the client and other intended users to understand the report properly. In 2019, the Appraisal Foundation released a document called Yes, I Can Perform That Assignment. In one example, for desktop or bifurcated, also known as hybrid assignments, the question is, can an appraiser perform an appraisal without personally inspecting the subject property, and is it in compliance with USPAP? The simple answer is yes. The 100470 desktop and 100470 hybrid forms were made available to appraisers within their appraisal software platforms in July of 2020, and the 1073-465 condominium versions in April of 2022. Here we will examine the 100470 desktop and the pre-printed language in the form. The scope of work states that the appraiser must, at a minimum, obtain and review adequate and reliable information for the subject property and ultimately report his or her analysis, opinions, and conclusions in the report. We have already established we must be able to do that without using any assumptions. And if you have not watched the digital appraisal training video on assumptions, then please consider doing so by accessing it with the link below or by searching for it on our YouTube channel. Limiting condition number 3 not only serves to advise the client and other intended users that the appraiser is relying on data provided by a third party, but that the appraiser also assumes there are no material omissions and makes no guarantees, express or implied, regarding the accuracy of that data. And finally, certification number 1 states that the appraiser developed the appraisal in accordance with the scope of work requirements noted above. The desktop appraisals outlined by the GSEs and their respective guides do not require a personal inspection, and because they are intended for use on purchase transactions only, they do not require property data collection. The assumption by the GSEs is that an appraiser can obtain all of the information needed to meet the scope of work and assignment conditions through the MLS and public records, but it does not include property data collection from taking place. Certification number 2 informs the client and other intended users that the appraiser did not perform a personal inspection of the property and reported the condition of the improvements relying on third-party data sources, sources like property fingerprint. The language in certification number 2 for hybrid appraisals is slightly different because hybrids do require property data collection, and here it informs the reader that it is the property data collection and report that the appraiser relied upon. Advisory Opinion 2 or AO2 in USPAP is related to real property inspections, which reminds the appraiser that there are other ways to gather information about a property. And while our personal observations are the primary source for doing so, these observations can be assisted by tools like property fingerprint available to appraisers today. For some assignments, it may be necessary to rely on information provided by other professionals, and when we do so, we must simply comply with the USPAP requirements related to reliance on work completed by others. Those requirements can be found in Standards Rule 2-3C, where the signing appraiser certifies that they have a reasonable basis for believing that the individual performing the property data collection is competent and that there is no reason to doubt the work is credible. So whether a personal inspection is performed by the appraiser, another appraiser, a trainee, or property data is collected by a third party, an appraiser must ensure that the degree of inspection is sufficient for the appraiser to understand the subject property's relevant characteristics, so the appraiser can develop a credible appraisal. So how do we ensure that we have reliable and credible information? We know that some desktop or digital solutions can present concerns, and while one solution may not be good or even great, it does not mean that we should rule out all possible solutions. We believe that property fingerprint not only addresses both process and capacity concerns by industry stakeholders, but it provides the appraiser with comprehensive, authenticated source data. The data is not only trustworthy, but it is not filtered in any way, and it allows the appraiser to view a digital twin of the property in 4K. Don't just take my word for it. Appraisers overwhelmingly are saying the data is reliable and credible by completing more than 98.6% of desktop and hybrid assignments when using property fingerprint. Seeing is believing, so let's take a look at a property together. Appraisers will receive a secure link to the property once the data has been uploaded from the field. You do not have to schedule some sort of FaceTime visit to view the property. Rather, you can access the data through our Envision app in any web browser at any time. And revisiting the property is just as easy. Once you are logged into Envision and at the property, a toolbar is presented at the top of your screen. A simple click on the Tour button will open the 3D Tour digital twin or walkthrough in a separate browser tab. There is a mini-map at the upper left corner. It includes colored dots showing the location of each scan completed by our background checked and trained digital capture specialists. Green dots are for exterior locations and red dots for interior locations. And those blue dots you see are what we call smart tags. This is a good time to remind you to subscribe to this channel to receive updates and notifications when new videos are released. For example, next week, we'll review the smart tag feature in its totality. Now back to the mini-map. The dot with the cone represents your current position at the property and the view direction. And at the bottom of the mini-map, there is a text indicating what level, above or below grade, you're at. And we start at above grade level 1. Clicking on the arrow down will reveal any and all levels to the property, and you can jump to the desired level by selecting the corresponding radio button. Our virtual inspection starts at the street, just as we would if we were physically there. From there, we can traverse the property any way we choose to do so. If you prefer to perform your inspections from the inside out, like my wife, who is also an appraiser, then kudos to you, and send me a message because I haven't figured out how she does it in 20 years. Now maybe that is for the best. A mystery in every marriage can't hurt, can it? Well, for the purpose of this exercise, we will tour the property from the outside in, and If you would like to go from right to left, that is your choice, but I'm left-handed like people should be, so we will navigate from left to right. Jumping to the left side of the house, we can start to make our observations about the materials used in construction and the quality of construction, whether it's the tile roof, the aluminum gutters and downspouts, or the stucco siding. We can also make our observations about the improvements themselves, like the confirmation of the 3-car garage or the wood fencing. Jumping to the other side of the fence and into the side yard, we can see a point of ingress or egress and 2 of the AC condenser units that serve the house. From the back center, looking at the house, we see 3 additional points of ingress and egress with a balcony that may provide some additional views. If we spin around looking out from the rear of the property, we will see for the first time a view of the high tension wires within the power line alley situated behind the property. However, I suspect the view from the balcony might prove to be more meaningful. Continuing to the left side of the house is where we can see that the home is serviced by gas and the position of the electrical services. Let's make our way to the front door. Once inside, we can continue to make our observations about those relevant property characteristics, the materials used, and the condition of those improvements as USPAP and the scope of work require us to do so. Making our way to the hallway, we can see the laundry area, the lower bedroom, and the lower bath. And when accessing the lower bedroom, we can see it as direct access to the lower bath, creating an in-law unit that has also direct access to the exterior of the house. That point of ingress and egress that we observed from the exterior left-hand side of the property. The family room features engineered hardwood flooring, a marble fireplace, and a decorative surround. The kitchen for this 1990 built house is mostly original, at least from a functional utility perspective. It does include original cabinets that appear to be painted, and because the appraiser is already familiar with the neighborhood and the market area, they know that granite countertops are not original to the property. We will actually get another view of what those countertops might have looked like when it was built when we go to the second floor. We do know they're newer, and we can look at the appliances in our asset capture feature, which will reveal the age of the appliances and assist us in determining exactly how new those granite countertops are. We can also see here that the flooring in the kitchen and breakfast area is laminate flooring. The engineered wood flooring continues in the dining room and in the front living room, where we see another marble fireplace and a decorative surround. From the foyer, let's navigate to the second level, where we would continue to make our observations about the materials used and their condition within each of the rooms. Here we can see on this ledge the original white tiled countertops used in the kitchen and baths prior to any updating. The primary bedroom is large and spacious with vaulted ceilings and has access to the rear balcony. The ceiling height, by the way, is shared within the square footage calculations, along with the floor area and volume for each room. The primary bath includes a jetted tub, original cabinets with granite countertops, and a large tiled shower with granite inlays. Heading to the balcony and looking outward, we can see those high-tension wires in the power line easement again. And from this view, we can see just how far away that easement is. Now, the tree lines obscure any view of the towers themselves. This is a view that we would have identified if we were physically at the property. certainly one that would be recognized within the aerial imagery and something as a appraiser we would want to talk about in our report. It is our responsibility to comment on any impact on the marketability of the property, to measure the market reaction, and to adjust against the comparables if and when appropriate and supported. Your virtual inspection will include each and every room. The best part is you're completing the inspection at your convenience and no one is around interrupting your routine. We have all missed a half bath or two in our careers because a property owner or sales agent had our attention. But with Property Fingerprint, that just isn't going to happen. And if we do get interrupted for some reason, we can always revisit the property anytime we need to or want to. If you are interested in learning more about Class Valuation's Property Fingerprint, then visit us on Tuesdays or Fridays when we demo our technology and show how the data is collected and made available to the appraiser for consumption, resulting in a successful desktop or hybrid appraisal experience. Thank you again for taking the time out of your busy day to review this information and our continued series on the Digital Appraisal Training Series. If you found it to be helpful, remember to smash that like button, and so you don't miss any other videos, remember to hit the subscribe button. If you have any questions regarding this issue or others, or simply would like to learn more about joining our digital appraisal panel, then please reach out to our digital desktop hybrid team for assistance. Have a great rest of your day and be safe out on your inspections.